This amazing story begins by showing the soldiers of the Han Empire who were trying to protect themselves from their enemies. A very powerful force wanted to take control over their empire. The name of this enemy force was the Yellow Turbans, and their leader was someone named Jean. Jean wanted to conquer all the kingdoms by any means necessary so that his power would become unmatched. But the soldiers of the Han Empire were not the ones to sit quietly. They were ready to do anything to protect their army. There was a general in the Han Empire named Dong. However, Dong was not able to make good decisions. But among all the soldiers, a legend was popular, that there were certain warriors born on Earth who were sent from heaven. These warriors had powers that ordinary humans couldn't even imagine. Every kingdom desired to have those heavenly warriors join their army. But until now, those warriors were completely unknown. Many people did extensive research to find out more about them. We're now shown a fierce battle between the soldiers of both empires. The Yellow Turban army was already starting to feel weak. More than half of their soldiers had been killed. That's when their leader Jean began chanting some kind of mantra. From that mantra, a strange kind of radiation started to emerge, and all the soldiers who had died began to come back to life. This means that Jean possessed a power that could even bring the dead back to life. Now the Yellow Turban army grew even larger and began attacking the Han Empire more aggressively. They even caught and brutally beat General Dong. At this point, it started to look like Jean, who had taken the path of evil, was going to win. And if that happened, the people of the Han Empire would be subjected to terrible oppression. That's why the remaining soldiers tried their very best. Just then, 3 brothers were introduced, all of whom were warriors. Their names were Gon, Lu, and Fu. All 3 had excellent combat techniques and were fighting on behalf of the Han Empire. The 3 of them entered the battlefield and began using their skills to take down the Yellow Turban soldiers. Their fighting speed was so fast that no soldier could even see their movements. One by one, they started defeating the enemy soldiers. Poor Jean had now exhausted all his energy, the same energy he used to revive the dead soldiers. Almost more than half of the Yellow Turban soldiers had been killed. Jean then decided to act smart and chose to flee from the battlefield. The remaining soldiers also retreated, which meant that the soldiers of the Han Empire had won. Their empire was now completely safe. The 3 warriors went to meet the Han Empire's general, Dong. Dong and his companions asked the 3 brothers about their background and religion. But strangely, the brothers did not reveal much about themselves. This suggested that the empire had a social structure or level system. This level was based on financial status, and people were given rank accordingly. For now, the 3 brothers set out on their separate paths. The king of the Han Empire had died, so the entire responsibility of the kingdom now fell upon General Dong. Some time later, it was shown that Jean, the enemy, had died, and his entire army was completely destroyed. So now the people of the Han Empire no longer had anything to worry about. Only one task remained, to choose a new king. Everyone knew that after the king's death, the crown prince should ascend the throne. But Dong, the general, did not want that to happen at all. Playing politics, he made his own son the new king. The crown prince wanted to object, but Dong had too much influence. He ordered his soldiers to imprison the prince. Everyone in the court internally knew what was happening, but no one dared to speak against Dong. He had such a large army that he could kill anyone who opposed him. Now we are shown Lu, one of the 3 warrior brothers. While Lu was passing through a region, one of Dong's men stopped him and asked him about his level. Lu replied that his father used to make pottery. Hearing this, they understood he was from a very low caste. So they all began mocking Lu. But soon, his 2 elder brothers arrived. Both were highly skilled warriors. They beat up the man who was mocking Lu. The problem escalated when many of Dong's soldiers showed up to capture the 3 brothers. But Gon, Lu, and Fu were not the kind to be caught easily. So, they took all their belongings and escaped into the forest. They believed they might be safe there. But as they moved deeper into the forest, they reached a completely different place. It seemed like a magical world, almost like a fairy tale. Before they could understand what was happening, a mysterious lady appeared in front of them. She told them that this was a sacred place where weapons were forged for warriors sent from heaven, a highly secret place that only such warriors could find. That lady could sense the divine energy inside the 3 brothers and realized that they were indeed the chosen warriors sent from heaven. The brothers explained their mission to her, that they must destroy Dong at any cost. Dong had taken over the Han Empire in a very brutal way, and it seemed he was misusing his powers, torturing the people of the empire. By now, the mysterious lady had understood the intentions of the 3 brothers. But she warned them that killing Dong wouldn't be that easy, because Dong was being protected by a warrior named Lu Bu, who possessed powerful, creative abilities and was actually sent from heaven. Dong had managed to manipulate Lu Bu into joining him. Now Lu Bu worked alongside Dong and served as his protector. Years ago, when dangerous warriors were sent from heaven, some of them had chosen the path of evil. Lu Bu was one of them. Dong cleverly manipulated Lu Bu and brought him under his command. Together, they conspired and had the king of the Han Empire killed. That means the king hadn't died of illness or in an accident. In truth, it was Lu Bu who killed him on Dong's orders. When the attack happened, many soldiers tried to protect the king. But no one could stand against Lu Bu's powers. Lu Bu did exactly what Dong told him, and executed the king. After the king's death, Dong took complete control of the empire. In return for this, Dong fulfilled all of Lu Bu's demands. He even made Lu Bu an important member of the kingdom, giving him full authority to make all protection-related decisions. So at this point, directly attacking Dong would be extremely dangerous. The woman from heaven also revealed that Lu Bu had taken one of her most important weapons. Without that weapon, she was powerless. So the first thing the brothers needed to do was retrieve that dangerous weapon from Lu Bu. But Gon, Lu, and Fu weren't afraid of any of this. In fact, they were looking for more people who were against Dong. They planned to gather all such people and build a united army. That's when the lady told them about a warrior named Chao. Even though Chao lived within the empire, he had always been against Dong. He had even tried to provoke others to stand against Dong. But the soldiers knew that if they opposed Dong, they would be killed. We're shown Chao trying to incite one of Dong's men to rise against him. Chao thought that at least one of them would turn on their master. And one man did. He secretly called Chao to a hidden location and told him that he would help him kill Dong. But Chao refused the offer. He said clearly that he would go alone and kill Dong himself. Chao actually worked inside Dong's palace as a poet. That is, he used to recite poetry for the king, and the king enjoyed listening to it peacefully. Using this as a strategy, Chao entered the palace as usual and began reciting his poetry. The king liked to enjoy such things alone. So he first ordered all the soldiers to leave the room. Even Lu Bu walked out. Now, inside the room, only Dong and Chao were present. Dong, while listening to the poetry, began to feel sleepy. Taking advantage of the moment, Chao moved forward to kill him. He had a knife in his hand. But just as he was about to stab Dong, Dong opened his eyes. Thinking quickly, Chao held out the knife and pretended that he had only come to gift it, not harm anyone. Dong was very impressed by this and felt Chao was extremely loyal to him. But as Chao was leaving, Lu Bu grew suspicious. Seeing the knife, Lu Bu realized that Chao hadn't come to recite poetry, he had come to kill Dong. Dong became furious and ordered that Chao be captured immediately. Chao fled to save his life. Lu Bu commanded his soldiers to chase after him, and they all went in pursuit. While escaping, they all reached a forested region. But Lu Bu had in his possession the powerful weapon that belonged to the mysterious lady. That weapon contained immense electrical energy. Using that weapon, Lu Bu launched several powerful attacks on Chao. The weapon's strength was so immense that the ground itself began to crack open. It felt like an earthquake had struck. Entire mountain cliffs began to collapse, and Chao fell into one of them. In the process, Chao suffered serious injuries. Lu Bu assumed that no one could survive such a fall, so he left the area with his soldiers. But it turned out Chao wasn't dead. He lay unconscious, badly injured. Some villagers from the area found him and took him with them to nurse him back to health. There was a possibility that once healed, Chao would burn with the desire for revenge. But at this time, the most important thing was for him to rest and recover. Meanwhile, back in the empire, Dong learned that Chao's dead body had still not been found. He became a bit uneasy, suspecting that Chao might still be alive and could return to try and kill him again. So Dong issued a public announcement: whoever finds Chao will be rewarded handsomely. All the villagers now wanted that reward, so they started searching everywhere for Chao. Even the royal soldiers joined the hunt. Soon, the news spread to other kingdoms as well. Everyone wanted to find Chao and claim the reward. One small kingdom was ruled by a leader named Chan. Some of Chan's soldiers received information that Chao might be hiding within their territory. As soon as this was discovered, the soldiers rushed to capture him. Chao was still being nursed back to health by the villagers, but the soldiers forcefully took him away to present him before their leader. Chan was now saying that he would hand Chao over to Dong and earn a huge reward in return. But before that, he asked Chao why he wanted to kill Dong. Without hesitation, Chao explained everything, how Dong had brutally murdered the king. Until now, no one knew this truth. Chao revealed that Dong wanted to take full control of the empire for himself. That was the reason Chao wanted to eliminate Dong on his own. After hearing all this, Chan was deeply impressed by Chao's courage. He decided not to hand Chao over to Dong. In fact, he himself now wanted to kill Dong. So, Chan extended his hand toward Chao and offered to join forces. Chao accepted the offer. That meant their armies would now combine, and together, they would fight against Dong's powerful military. After this moment, Chan and Chao set out together to build a large army. While traveling, they arrived at Chao's uncle's place. His uncle lived in a small village. When Chao asked his uncle for help, he allowed them to stay there. So, for a while, Chao and Chan began living in that village. They were welcomed warmly, served food and drink, and then went to sleep. That night, Chao had a strange vision. In his dream, he saw his uncle and all the villagers plotting to kill him. They quietly entered his room and attacked him viciously. Chao woke up immediately, terrified by the nightmare. He felt it wasn't just a dream, it was a glimpse of the future, a vision of what was about to happen. Filled with anger and fear, Chao slowly stepped outside and began attacking everyone he suspected of plotting against him. In fact, he ended up killing all his uncle's people. Chan was shocked to witness all this. He couldn't understand why Chao was doing such things. After all, it was just a dream, those people were innocent and didn't deserve to be harmed. But for some reason, Chao couldn't control himself. He took Chan with him and left the village. As they reached a mountainous area, they suddenly ran into Chao's uncle. His uncle asked, "Where are you rushing off to, leaving the village behind?" That's when Chao told him the whole truth, how he had unknowingly killed all of his relatives, thinking they were plotting against him. But even there, Chao didn't stop. He ended up killing his uncle too. Chan was now completely shocked by Chao's actions. At first, he thought Chao was a brave and noble warrior. But now it seemed there was darkness within him, the kind of evil that wouldn't hesitate to kill his own people. Chao and Chan were now resting in a forest area. Chan was extremely angry with Chao over everything that had happened. He even tried to kill him. But in the end, he couldn't go through with it. By morning, Chan decided that he could no longer accompany Chao. So he left and returned to his own kingdom. Chao was now completely alone. But he didn't give up, he kept moving forward. The lady then revealed that some time ago, Chao had also come to her. This confirmed that Chao too was one of the warriors sent from heaven to earth. He had discovered the magical realm just like the others. When he asked for help, the lady provided him with a very dangerous weapon, a powerful sword, said to be the one from which the entire world was created. With such a stable and divine weapon in hand, Chao had now become extremely powerful. He even went to his father and sold off whatever property they had left, deciding to build a massive empire of his own. By now, Chao had gathered a large army. In fact, he ruled over them like a king. But his ultimate goal was still to defeat Dong and destroy his entire kingdom. He had been preparing for this very mission all along. Back in the magical realm, Gon, Lu, and Fu also began to understand everything the lady was trying to tell them. They now realized exactly what needed to be done next. Suddenly, the lady started casting a spell, and with her magic, Gon, Lu, and Fu opened their eyes and found themselves back in the forest. The magical world had vanished. As soon as the three regained consciousness, they saw some weapons placed in front of them. These weapons were none other than the gifts from the mysterious lady herself. Each of the three brothers picked a weapon according to their own strength. With their new weapons, they immediately set out toward Chao's kingdom, because they wanted to join him in defeating Dong. Even though Chao had become dark and dangerous in some ways, for now, they needed powerful soldiers who could stand against Dong. As the three warrior brothers traveled and reached Chao's empire, they were captured by the royal soldiers and brought to the palace. Inside, many important members of the court were gathered, engaged in strategic discussions. It was revealed that Chao had invited the kings of all nearby kingdoms to unite their forces. His plan was to combine all their armies and launch a full-scale assault on Dong's military. Among them, one king named Li was chosen to lead the charge, because he had the largest army and the most dangerous weapons. Chao explained the plan. First, they must rescue and kidnap the prince. If the prince escapes Dong's hands, Dong will lose his only leverage and won't be able to blackmail them anymore. But King Li warned that before they could do that, they would have to face a deadly warrior in Dong's army, Jiang. He was an extremely dangerous fighter. Lu Bu, Dong's main general, would be the final opponent. But before him, Jiang would stand in their way. All the kings seemed very confident, and their soldiers were ready to launch the attack. All the soldiers, while traveling, finally reached the battlefield. Some of the kings who considered themselves powerful stepped forward to fight Jiang. Jiang wielded a massive sword and began the fight without hesitation. But what shocked everyone was that Jiang started killing the kings one by one. He brutally sliced through the bodies of 3 to 4 kings. Watching this kind of brutal combat left everyone stunned. Then, a warrior named Gungan stepped forward. Even though Jiang had immense power, Gungan was extremely fast and had exceptional combat skills. He didn't just dodge attacks, he countered with precision. The two warriors fought for several minutes. Then, using clever tactics, Gun managed to turn Zhang's own weapon against him and killed him. This victory filled the soldiers with great enthusiasm. Everyone felt confident that now they were surely going to win. When King Li heard about Zhang's defeat, he immediately assigned many of his soldiers to support the three warrior brothers, Gan, Lu, and Fu. Now, the three of them would lead the army and begin preparing for the final attack. Meanwhile, when Dong received the news that his most dangerous warrior, Jiang, had been killed, he became furious. Without delay, he commanded Lu Bu to take the full force of the army and completely annihilate the enemy. When the other kings heard that Lu Bu was approaching with a massive army, some of them became terrified and fled. Along with them, half of the soldiers also left. This drastically reduced the military strength of Chao and the remaining kings. But now that they had come so far, there was no turning back. They had to win this war no matter what. Lu Bu began launching his attack on the enemy forces with his vast army. He fought with deadly precision and started destroying everything in his path. During the battle, Lu Bu's eyes fell upon a woman standing near the water. She seemed to be walking toward it to commit suicide. Just in time, Lu Bu reached the spot and stopped her. It turned out the lady wanted to end her life because Dong was forcing her into marriage. She didn't want to ruin her life that way. People felt very bad for her, and even Lu Bu started to feel something for her. He promised her that if he returned victorious from the war, he would marry her himself. Meanwhile, Gan, Lu, and Fu devised a plan. They decided to split the army into two units. The first army, led by Chao, would attack Dong's forces directly. The three brothers, on the other hand, would lead a separate squad to attack Lu Bu. So they formed two different groups and headed out to complete their respective missions. The three brothers motivated their soldiers with great energy, urging them to fight like true warriors. "This is the final battle," they said, "and once we defeat the enemy, we'll win peace." Soon, the three brothers marched ahead with their large unit and came face to face with Lu Bu. Seeing all this, Lu Bu became furious and immediately began chanting a spell. As soon as he did, more than half of the enemy soldiers were wiped out. Lu Bu then ordered his own soldiers to attack as well. Both sides' armies clashed violently, fighting with everything they had. At that moment, the three brothers arrived with their weapons to fight Lu Bu. Lu Bu was wielding his eternal weapon, a sword charged with lightning power, and was causing massive destruction. The three brothers tried to combine the power of their swords to attack him, but sadly, their strength was nothing in comparison. Lu Bu easily struck them down and tossed them away. He even smeared some of his own blood onto his weapon, which further amplified its powers. Now Lu Bu was so overpowered that the three brothers couldn't even get close to him. Chaos and destruction spread everywhere because of his immense strength. At that moment, Gan, Lu, and Fu remembered what the lady had once told them, that the more the owner's blood soaked into the weapon, the more powerful the sword would become. So, all three of them smeared their own blood onto their swords. The power of their weapons increased significantly, and they charged toward Lu Bu with double the force. Something about their swords made them even stronger than before. Both sides were now determined to eliminate each other at all costs. Meanwhile, following the original plan, Chao reached the empire with his army and began searching for Dong's soldiers. They started spreading chaos and destruction everywhere. With clever tactics, Chao's forces eliminated most of Dong's soldiers. Very few remained, and Dong now realized that there was no escape, he had lost. So, he surrendered and told one of his advisors to gather all the important possessions so they could escape. In fact, Dong even summoned Lu Bu back from battle. Dong decided to flee the kingdom, taking with him his entire army, and even the princess. Obviously, they knew they couldn't win this fight and had no choice but to abandon the Han Empire. Lu Bu's beloved, the woman he cared for, had also been captured and taken along. When Chao found out about all of this, he was enraged. Although the Han Empire was now safe, he wanted to kill Dong with his own hands. He made a vow, no matter how long it took, he would find Dong and finish him. Time passed, and the people of the Han Empire began living peacefully again. Later, when Gan, Lu, and Fu met with Chao, he told them that he was leaving for an important mission, to find Dong and his allies. In Chao's absence, it would be the responsibility of the three brothers to protect the Han Empire. Gan, Lu, and Fu accepted the responsibility and promised that they would always guard the kingdom. And with that, this story comes to an end.